it's Miss Middlebrooks. I wanted to come give you guys a recap of what we talked about Tuesday in class, which was water as a resource. But first, I have a very special guest to introduce to you guys. And that special guest is my mom.
Hey everybody.
She was also one of my science teachers in high school. I learned so much from her, and I ended up being a science teacher just like her. And Mom, do you have any words of wisdom for my kids?
I would have to say, as you embark on your educational journey in life, that there is no substitute for hard work. You may not be that talented at a particular thing, or maybe you struggle in a particular area, but if you work hard, you can succeed. Hard work is the key.
I agree with that. So thanks for talking to my kids. And
Bye, guys.
I'll see you later. She's awesome. All right, so I really quickly wanted to talk to you guys about water as a resource. So we started out talking about how the Earth's surface is covered with approximately 71% of water, but only less than 1% of that water is actual accessible fresh water. And by fresh water, we mean that this would be the water that we could use for agriculture, for industry, and for human consumption. So, oceans contain 97% of Earth's water, but it is salt water, so it's not easily usable for drinking. That doesn't mean that we can't. It just has to go through a process, which we'll talk about a little bit later. So, of the fresh water that we have here on Earth, most of it is what we call groundwater, or it's actually located underground. And less than 1% of the fresh water on Earth flows freely in lakes, rivers, and streams. So, most of you know about the water cycle. I'm sure it's something that you've learned even back when you were in elementary school. And it's something that we continue to talk about here in environmental science in high school because it's what allows water to be a perpetual and a renewable resource. So Earth's water is always in movement. It's a continuous cycle. It's always changing states from liquid to vapor to ice and back again. So really quickly, let's talk about the 4 phases of the water cycle. We've got evaporation, which is where water leaves the surface of the earth as water vapor and it enters up into the atmosphere and the clouds, where it then becomes condensation while it's in the clouds. And then we have precipitation, which is where that water falls back to the earth as like rain, snow, or sleet, and sometimes even hail. And then the last phase would be surface runoff. So this is where it's running down our surfaces, such as like mountains and hills and things like that, to enter back into the ocean or to enter back into our lakes or our rivers and streams, or to be absorbed as groundwater. So, I talked about earlier about how most of Earth's water is actually salt water, which is contained in oceans. But is it possible to remove that salt from salt water? And it is. We call this desalination. And desalination is the removal of salt from seawater. It provides drinkable water in areas where fresh water is scarce. So why aren't we doing more of this? If we can turn that salt water into fresh water, we should just be pumping fresh water out like it's no big deal, right? Wrong. Desalination is a pretty expensive process. So in countries where there's more poverty or it's not as developed, we're not really going to see this process utilized a lot. So, my final question to you is, if fresh water is taken straight from the ground, is it safe to drink? And no, it's not. It's not safe to drink. So even though it's considered to be fresh water, We still have to treat that water to make it safe to use for human consumption. And that was actually governed under the Safe Drinking Water Act. And under that act, it sets the standards for safe drinking water. And those standards are set by the Environmental Protection Agency, which is better known as the EPA. And I'm sure you've heard a good bit about the EPA throughout your lifetime, especially recently in the news. So we know that there's a lot of uses for fresh water. I'm sure that you can think of some that you use in your everyday life, such as drinking, taking showers, cooking, even for sanitation, such as flushing toilets and things like that. But our primary use of fresh water is for agriculture and mainly for irrigation, and that's about 30 to 80% of our water use, depending on where we are in the world. And it's also used in industry as well, but that mostly happens in North America and Europe. So throughout the week, I want you to think of ways that you can try to conserve more water, ways that you could cut back on your water consumption. And now I hope you know a little bit more about water. I hope you enjoy meeting my mom. I think she's awesome. And I will see you guys today at 1 o'clock for Throwback Thursday. Bye, guys.